Right. Good afternoon. I'm Matt Ball. I'm the business analyst from the University of Leicester. I currently chair the PCI DSS Special Interest Group for the HEFE sector. For this afternoon's session, I'd like to discuss VoIP in the context of PCI DSS. VoIP content for this presentation comes from a paper written by Nigel Hodgson from Edge Hill University, who was unable to attend today, which is a bit of a shame because Nigel's a VoIP expert, whereas my speciality is probably PCI. Okay. Willie Sutton was a prolific American bank robber. During his 40-year career, he stole an estimated $2 million and eventually spent more than half his adult life in prison and escaped 3 times. For his talent at executing robberies in disguises, he gained 2 nicknames, Willie the Actor and Slick Willie. Sutton is best known for the urban legend that he said, when asked, the reason he robbed banks was because that's where the money is. This statement's brilliant. It sums up the whole objective in one simple phrase, because that's where the money is. What we can take away from this comment is that the criminal will go where the item of value is. Be it money, jewellery, and now in this day and age, data, it still boils down to because that's where the item of value is. When Willie was robbing banks, he had to turn up physically, run the gauntlet of guards and police to get away with the money. Today, crime can potentially be committed online via public Wi-Fi, in a Costa, a Starbucks, even the public areas on a university campus. Okay, because where the data is. So moving on from Willie's days of robbing banks, credit card data is now one of the biggest forms of treasure for the criminal. So please picture this. It's a typical supermarket on a busy afternoon. We've all been here. At some point we load up a trolley, we queue for ages, usually get a bit annoyed because we're missing the football. Before making it through to checkout person, we hand over the card, we pay for the goods, we go home, we forget about the transaction until the bill lands at the end of the month. We trust the retailers and the card companies to protect our data. This is Target. It's one of the US retailers. Could easily be Asda, Tesco's, Morrison's, Marks & Spencer's, could be a campus retail outlet. Around the 18th of December 2013, Target became aware of a breach that resulted in the loss of financial details for over 50 million customers, based on the reports I've read and seen. It was caused by malware that had been deployed onto the EPOS system by hackers. The hackers came in for the air conditioning units, for the systems which controlled those. For the best part of 3 weeks, the malware had run undetected and harvested card data 24 hours a day for every card transaction that went through every one of Target's 1,790 stores. And then the card data was sold online through dubious websites and other online outlets. US credit cards will go for between $4 to $8. A European car will go for around $18. Target netted the fees of potentially in excess of $50 million from selling the card data alone, which they actively did. This is the US, could easily be the UK. One of the worrying trends is that software is being specifically designed for these sort of attacks to steal and take card data. In the last year, across the US, there have been a number of other attacks similar to this. Home Depot, Jimmy John's, Hilton's, Kmart, Staples recently as well. The reason I'm using US examples is because of US disclosure laws. They have to announce when they've had a breach. In the UK, breaches are not publicly disclosed, although they are happening. The Target breach highlights some essential points. Our customer card data has value and it's worth stealing. The innovation and talent amongst the criminal community is brilliant, and they are organised, seriously organised. And the criminal goes for the merchant because that's where the card data is. Card fraud has been a problem globally for years. With each type of new payment channel, a new type of payment fraud has popped up. And with the advent of e-commerce and digital payment systems, the criminal went for the data stored on the merchant systems, our systems. In the context of PCI DSS, anyone who takes payments, card payments, is classified as a merchant. And the stakes are getting higher. The attacks are getting stronger as our reliance on card payments continually increases, coupled with the continuing implementation of more and more interconnected technology. Target, Home Depot, Kmart, they all demonstrate that. PCI DSS was developed to help us, the merchant, tackle card crime. So, PCI DSS, it's a payment card data security standard. It's a standard designed with the aim of protecting the customer's credit card data when it's received, used, transmitted or stored within the customer's within the merchant's organisation. PCI DSS, it's a global status standard that any business of any size must adhere to in order to accept payment cards and to store, process or transmit cardholder data. PCI DSS was developed to help the merchant address those security flaws and reduce data losses. The merchant has to become more responsible for providing secure processes for taking and processing card data. PCI DSS is a relatively simple concept. Provide the merchant with a minimum security standard, but when implemented, should identify and plug the weak points where data thief could exploit it and steal the card data. However, PCI DSS does bring a lot of change to organisations, which can and will impact on working practices, the technology being used, even the physical environments in some places where you've got the card data machines. PCI DSS is a contractual obligation. As merchants, someone, somewhere in the organisation signed a contract with a bank for processing cards. Achieving PCI DSS compliance is a mandatory requirement of that contract, and once we achieve this compliance, we need to maintain it year on year on. However, when you start digging into it, following the standards to achieve compliance is the tip of the iceberg when one considers the scale of investigation and remedial work across our institutions to see if we are compliant. The purpose of the SIG can be described as to capitalise on the shared expertise and understanding possessed by the people working across the HE/FE sector in order to support each other while working towards and/or maintaining PCI DSS compliance within our individual institutions. The SIG was formed on the concept of pooling our collective experiences, expertise and knowledge with a view to being a source of guidance and forming a common approach to working towards compliance in the HE/FE sector. Ideally making the journey to PCI DSS, if not slightly easier, then certainly clearer, potentially making savings in time, money and stress by working together. So, VoIP. Is VoIP relevant to PCI DSS? One of the objectives of the SIG is to try and get clear, consistent answers for the HE/FE sector regarding PCI DSS. With the introduction of VoIP devices across the HE/FE sector, the big question for us is VoIP relevant to PCI DSS and what is the impact? PCI DSS, it applies where data is transmitted in the context of VoIP, telephone payments with card numbers being read out as part of the call. Stored, card data picked up within voice recordings or left on voicemail, or processed. There's been much confusion about voice and the PCI DSS standards. Recently, the PCI Security Standards Council clearly stated that all audio and or voice recordings that contain card data are in scope of PCI DSS. In short, if the system is used to transmit, store or process card data, it's in scope of PCI. So potentially, depending how you use VoIP in your VoIP systems within your organisation, then yes, VoIP is relevant to PCI DSS and probably in scope. In the HE/FE sector, IP telephony is gaining momentum for a number of reasons. PBXs are starting to reach end of life. IP switches are becoming less costly and provide more features than the average PBX. Data networks have become more advanced and can now support quality of service that VoIP requires. VoIP technology is also maturing very quickly. Coupled with high quality data networks, HE/FE institutions can derive more value from a network infrastructure that has already been heavily invested in. As always, a change in technology can and does bring new threat vectors that can be exploited for gain. Thinking about Willie Sutton's where the money is principle, if there's profit to be made, then the threat vector will be exploited. Converged VoIP and data networks inherit all the security weaknesses of the IP protocol, including spoofing, denial of service attacks, sniffing, message integrity and replay attacks, DNS, SNP, TFTP will also be targets of attacks as there have been on data networks. There are some potential VoIP threats from a PCI. So these are some of the potential VoIP threats. From a PCI perspective, network eavesdropping and rogue device connection are a couple of common attacks that have been used. Voicemail hacking, I think we're all familiar with that potential attack, thanks to the News of the World and other journalists, show that voicemail is a potential area for stealing data. As a quick poll in the room, how many institutions here request the reinforced of changing the default passwords on voicemail when you hand it and roll it out to users? It's not many. Thank you. Okay, PCI DSS standards consist of 6 goals, 12 requirements distributed over 6 goals, each requirement having a number of sub-requirements. Depending on the number of transactions the merchant makes, they are either audited for their compliance against the standard, or they complete a self-assessment questionnaire. From the HEFE sector, the size of our business means that we get away with completing a self-assessment questionnaire, which makes the process a little easier. So, thinking about VoIP in the context of PCI requirements, these are the areas that VoIP at a technical level would have an impact on PCI. Requirement 4, I think, is probably the pivotal point. Yep. If you can categorically prove or confirm that VoIP is at no point being used for taking, transmitting or processing card payments and doesn't come into contact with the card data environment, then VoIP's out of scope, but I think that's probably unlikely. I think requirement 2, do not use vendor-supplied defaults for system passwords and other security parameters. I'd expect everyone here changes their passwords and puts kit in without actually putting it. Doesn't put kit in relying on the defaults. I expect everybody to do that for good security practice. But it's one of the main requirements. There's a lot of people who just roll out kit with default passwords on. And if you Google them, you can pick up a lot of passwords for routers, VoIP kit, servers, even the EPOS terminals. It's all available on the net. And there's a lot of companies that just don't change the passwords. I just don't think so. Oh yeah, sorry, this is the VoIP and PCI one, which I should have clicked onto earlier, sorry. Okay. It's a VoIP simple hack. This is a Raspberry Pi. Retails for about 30 quid. You add a wireless adapter to it, place it in a small case, and this credit card device can sit unnoticed on your VoIP network, accessing data for days, maybe even weeks. We tried this. Using the Raspberry Pi as an example, it is possible to install this device on the VoIP network, patch it into a spare Ethernet lead, put the Wi-Fi dongle on it, and we can intercept the data packets. So, what can this hack teach us? Hardware costs are low. This example, it cost us less than £50 to try. It's easy to get hold of the equipment too. You can pick them up in Maplins or mail order from RS. The data can be collected easily off the network with a wireless adapter as well. The data can be sort of forwarded to another device or another location away from the Pi. It exploits security loopholes. Depending on your setup and and how you've got things set up, it will vary what it exploits. But at the very least, if somebody can actually put this on your network, it bypasses your physical security if it's successfully installed. The big question is, in a little black box sitting on the back of a phone, how often do users actually question little boxes that IT have put there, or they think IT have put there? I mean, it's just another piece of IT kit. I mean, it's got to be needed, hasn't it? So, the question is, would it be noticed? So, okay, to conclude, all data has value, although in this context we're talking credit card data. But broadly speaking, if the data can be used for gain, it's worth stealing. Targets breach demonstrates that. VoIP can be in scope for PCI DSS. If credit card data is being transmitted, stored or processed over the institution's VoIP infrastructure, then VoIP is definitely in scope for PCI DSS. Breaches do happen. Again, Target shows us that. As does Kmart, Home Depot, Lush. even the iPhone hacking. It's a fact of life. Breaches occur. Okay. Hacking, in the main, exploits a human oversight. Human error causes 95% of cybersecurity incidents. This conclusion was reached from analysts reviewing the recent IBM Cybersecurity Intelligence Index. In the case of VoIP, failing to change default passwords, not implementing encryption on VoIP data, even failing to question an unfamiliar black box plugged into the network can lead to a breach. For the PCI DSS Special Interest Group, Nigel Hodson from Edgehill has produced an initial paper on VoIP and the impact on PCI DSS. Some of the content for this has been drawn from that paper, and we would welcome reviews, comments and contributions to the next version of this paper, ideally trying to involve it into a resource that is both valuable for UCISA and the SIG members. So that finishes it for me. Thank you very much for your time and thank you for staying so long. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, please.
Would you therefore recommend that keep our P's on copper?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Keep it simple. I mean, we've got some amazing technology out there. It's absolutely fantastic. But, yeah, if you're taking card payments, keep it simple. Keep it off your network. So, yeah, dedicated lines. Cool.
I'd just like to say thanks again, Matt. And that's another reason I don't like Raspberry Pis, I think.